Hello, welcome to today's IG Live. I'm Robin Ducharme, and I'm so happy to be joined by John Kim. John is joining us from Costa Rica. He has taken this time in his day to answer your questions about breakups, anything to do with breaking up, whether that be a divorce or long-term relationship or short partnership, whatever the case. John is a seasoned therapist. He's an author. His newest book is called Breakup on Purpose. It's fantastic. And what I love about this book is it's very unique. It's breaking down the different types of breakups that we go through and really customizes, prioritizing what things you can focus on for your healing, depending on the type of breakup that you're going through. So we have 30 minutes with this man who I just love talking to and learning from. And I hope that you're going to be gaining something from our conversation. He's here to answer your questions. So I'm watching the chat. I'm going to ask John to join us. And if you've got questions about breakup, about divorce, anything in between, please ask and he'll answer your questions. What an awesome opportunity. There we go. Hi, John.
Hey, first, thank you for calling me a man. That means a lot to me.
You the man
Thank you.
with the
Hey,
new
hey be,
haircut.
yeah, I know. Before we begin, I just want to say I want to know about this new concept you have, which I think is brilliant. Hey guys, you've heard of the Gottmans, right? The legends. They have a 6-second kiss. By the way, the Gottmans are going to be headlining in Bloom this year. Robin has something called the 6-minute kiss. 6 minutes a day.
Hilarious.
6 minutes a day. She practices it herself with her person. Walk us through this. 6 minutes is a long time. Close on,
No.
close off. How does this work?
No. It was a joke. I wish that we had 6 minutes of kissing a day. Hector and I don't see each other every day, but when we do, I'm hoping that we have at least a 6 minute kiss,
Yeah,
but it's not every day.
but thank you for the reminder. I mean, a 6 minute kiss is amazing. I agree.
Yeah. 6 seconds is good too.
6 seconds is good too.
Yeah. Thank you, John Kim, for joining us. And congrats on your book. I loved it. Breakup on Purpose.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
So
for having me.
we're gonna go through our community questions because we don't have a lot of time here.
Yeah, let's do
It goes by so
it.
fast. And I'm watching the chat. For those of you that are joining us live, thank you. Ask John your questions. He's here. All right. I am just through a divorce from a marriage that was abusive and broke me down to nothing. I'm starting over with finding myself and learning to realize my worth. How do I learn to lean into that corrective love you speak about and not let my trauma get in the way as I heal?
Mm. I think for me, because she says not let my trauma get in the way, it implies that her trauma has gotten in the way before. So I feel like that's the first place to start. Uh, I always say after a breakup or what I call an expired relationship, the growth soil is the richest, right? Before we find someone else to date, before we get, before our hearts, we start to invest in someone else. There's like a window, and it can calcify if you just distract yourself. So if you're telling me that trauma has gotten in the way before, chances are it's going to get in the way again. So that's what I would work on now.
Hmm. So what you're saying is like when you're breaking up with someone, there's like that rich, fertile soil that
Yeah.
you want to just spend some time in. Like you want to take this time for your self growth, self healing, right?
Yes. Yes. And you don't have to do it right away because a lot of times after a breakup, you got to go through the feelings, uh,
Hmm.
grief, anger. Like I think you have to allow yourself to feel. But once you're stable, instead of getting on apps and looking for love again, you really, I think, because the soil is so rich for growth, look at what happened, evaluate, take ownership. What was your piece in this? And if trauma has been what's gotten away, in the way in the past, then it's time to start working through your trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gone through two breakups in a row. How do I trust the next person with an open heart?
I wonder, for me, I wonder how fast those were. Like, if you've gone through two in a row, was it consecutively within the last, couple years? If that's the case, it kind of tells me that you might be jumping into relationships too fast,
Mm.
and then they don't go well. The problem with this is if you go through a lot of breakups very fast, you could get very discouraged and you could feel like, oh, love doesn't exist, or maybe, or you can internalize and say I'm defective, or I'm less than, or I don't know how to love. So I wonder how much time was in between the two relationships that didn't work. Because if they were too close, I always feel like we got to take a breath. We got to kind of work on our relationship with ourselves before we reboot and jump into another relationship. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree with that. And, I think about this because I have been married twice. And
Mhm.
before, when I was ready to date again and be in another relationship, I was super cautious and being like, I want to do things differently. And so I had, I'm like we talked about, I'm a hopeless romantic.
Yeah,
But also this time I was like, you got to take your time with this, Robin. Like, be open and curious, show up
right.
as your loving self, all those things that you're going to do when you're dating.
Yeah.
But also take time to get to know new people. Don't jump in,
What I mean, what's the rush? I know so many people
right?
who, after a breakup, it's almost like they're competing with the person they broke up with to see who can find love faster. Like, what's the rush? Like, wouldn't you want something quality and set yourself up for something sustainable and amazing instead of just finding someone as fast as you can?
That's right. But also take your time to get to know the people you're dating.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's how you're going to be able to prove or show that it can work, right?
Yeah,
There's no rush in that. There's no rush in getting to know somebody here.
there's no
That's
rush.
we're in a society of rushing.
Yes,
That's
that's
it.
true. True.
Time to slow
Rushing
down,
and
people.
on demand.
Yeah. I've been divorced for 7 years and co-parenting has been going well. But since my ex moved in with his new girlfriend, I find myself getting triggered when we're all together. My child loves when we celebrate things as a family, birthdays, Christmas, but it makes me question, am I not as healed as I thought? Is it
Mm.
okay to set boundaries and keep some distance, or should I work through the lingering hurt and bitterness?
Robin, I'm going to pass the baton to you because you have firsthand experience with co-parenting, right? That's tough. Co-parenting can be I mean,
I think it's like, I spend time with my first husband and our children.
hmm
At birthdays, when they're playing soccer, I'm standing with him and we're talking. Um, sometimes he'll like say something that's just like triggering, right? Just
right,
and
right,
I'm sure I do the
activating.
same thing with him. There's
Yeah,
a reason we're not married anymore.
right.
Does that mean that I'm hurt and bitter and resentful? No, it's more just like not my person, but I still value him as the father of my children,
Yeah,
and I love him as a person.
yeah.
So I think it's like give yourself a break. That's the way I read this. I'm just like it sounds like they're still if they're able to be in the same room and be
Mm,
there together as a family for special occasions. That in itself, I think, is full of like just goodness. That's
yeah,
good
yeah.
if you're on good terms. It's good for the kids, good for everybody. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would say as a therapist, my go-to answer is going to be explore where the activation is coming from because it's usually not what's on the surface. Something, the word you use is trigger. Something is activating you, possibly reminding you. Maybe it's something that happened in the past or even before you met your ex, and that's it's following the string down to that source to resolve that, to understand, to heal that. To me, any kind of activation is like it's like a die marker. It just to me tells me that there's something to look at here.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do I continue to try and prove I'm worth loving to someone who has proven time and time again they don't see my worth?
Mm. Well, first, I want to say I'm sorry that you've been in relationships, and maybe we all have to a certain extent, where people don't see your worth, or people don't accept you for who you are, or people wish that you were different. That makes me sad, but also I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of being in relationships where I tried to control them, or I just wish they were this way, like not seeing value instead me trying to project or place something on them. A lot of times we date people who have potential, thinking that we could like fix them or make them different. Like we take them on as projects. So first, I just want to say sorry for having that experience. That can be challenging. When that happens, we usually can internalize that, there's something wrong with me, because if there wasn't, the person would not be trying to change me, and so getting to a place where there's nothing wrong with you, it just wasn't a good fit. There was a misalignment and someone judging you, and so I think first is to understand that is that uh, this has less to do with you and more to do with you getting involved with someone that didn't align with you.
So, John, as a therapist, like when you're seeing people, and let's just say this person is in relationship with this person,
Yeah.
that they know that they're not being valued in this relationship.
Mm.
So, like, how are you like speaking to your client about this? Like, are you saying like, you're telling me that you're not being valued?
Yeah. So I would
Yeah.
actually, this is an important conversation. I would ask. I would ask my partner, or even express to my partner, and using kind of I statements, how I feel when they do something or say something. So I would be very specific. I wouldn't just say I don't feel valued in this relationship, right? Because what's going to happen is the person's going to say, well, here are all the things that I can prove to you that you should feel valuable. I do this, I do that. So get very specific. What are some things that happen that make you feel less valued? And how much of that is yours and how much of that is your partner's? So you're not going into this as a here's what I'm blaming you for. You're going into this as a kind of a conversation. Here's the piece where I don't feel valued, and I'll tell you right now, this is what I'm contributing to that, but can we talk about this? So you're leaving space for your partner to take ownership and responsibility, but you're not pointing a finger. Do you know what I'm saying? You're
Yep.
expressing how something makes you feel, and you're saying I'm also willing to look at how much of that is mine.
Okay. And you're being
Yeah.
very specific, because if it's that's really important. You can't
Yeah.
just have this blanket statement because
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. What are some ways, we talked about this on the podcast, what are some ways to manage overwhelming emotions while going through a divorce?
Yeah, I think with all emotions, I think a lot of people suppress or they kind of like white knuckle. Uh, I feel like the first step is to kind of accept and allow yourself to feel everything and not judge your emotions. There's a saying, the only way out is through. And I feel like before we even get to managing emotions, allow yourself to feel, go, just feel it, scream, get angry. I mean, do whatever you need to do that is healthy and safe. And then after that, you could be like, okay, now I need to manage some things. Now I need to manage this because it's getting me to do behavior I don't like, or it's bringing too much anxiety, or it's keeping me from getting up in the morning, whatever it is. But I think first is just to allow yourself, give yourself permission to feel everything.
Yes, and we're not taught to do
No,
that, John. We're
no.
not taught to feel our emotions. I really liked what you said in your book. I circled it, and it was about a lot of us with our parents. They didn't give us the emotional milk to
Yeah,
grow
yeah,
strong, like bones, like emotional
yes,
bones, or something. There's
yeah,
something
yeah,
along
yeah,
those
yeah,
lines. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, that's terrible requote, but
Right.
it's true that we're not taught how to manage and deal with our
Yes.
emotions. My thought, my is like, ask for help. Like,
Mm.
hopefully you've got people around you that love you, and you can say, I'm going through it. Like, can we go for a walk? Can we just
Yeah.
meet and like go to one of those? There's places where you can, I don't know, throw axes or something, or or
Yes.
just
Yes.
anything you can do to deal with these emotions in a healthy way. Sometimes it's not that healthy, but you also talk about that in your book. Give yourself some grace if you
Mm.
want to go through a very temporary, short-lived numbing period of Netflix and chill, but
Yeah.
you have to get out of it too,
Yes.
right?
And
Yeah.
also, asking for help is something that is hard for people to do. I kind of feel like maybe even with you, like asking for help then, means that, you're incapable, or you tag a false belief to that, and then so you don't do it. And so asking for help for many is really hard to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, so somebody wrote, I feel like Dane Cook in Good Luck Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
Every ex marries the next guy. How do I break this pattern?
Well, I think breaking the pattern means not comparing your ex's journey and who they're with or how fast they get, with someone else to yours. And I think this is the problem with social media. It's so
Mm.
easy to follow our exes, and then, suddenly we're seeing photos of them with other people on dates. And we're probably also seeing a false narrative, right? We're probably not seeing the documentary. We're seeing the highlight reel because that's what we post. So I would not engage in any of that. That's very unhealthy for you.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
How do I fully cut ties with an ex? We share a pet and financial responsibilities. This sounds
Mm,
like boundaries,
yeah.
right? Like if you're sharing stuff, then you have to be in contact.
Yeah, this is also with the co-parenting.
Mm.
You're gonna be with, like, this person is gonna be the father of your child or mother of your child forever, and so it's like, how do I establish healthy boundaries? Also, raise a child, be respectful, even, and also, like, I like this idea that it's not just that we broke up, but I like that our relationship has changed. Like,
Yes.
instead of lovers, we are now friends and co-parenting, and then I want to honor that. I want to respect that new relationship. There's something about, like, saying that this relationship has evolved, grown, or changed into something else that, I don't know. For me, it's super helpful because then I like to see it as a whole new different thing, not as just an ex or,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine about this last week, and I don't like the word ex. It's like so,
Mhm.
mm,
Yeah,
eh.
yeah.
So like I use the word father of my children, former,
That's so respectful
former
too.
husband, right? It's just,
Yeah,
there's something around the
yeah,
expert. It's just like, so sometimes it's okay. I can see how people are like, okay, that's my ex.
yeah.
But I don't know, there's something, like you said, I think that the reframing is very important to your perspective.
There's a stain that comes with X.
Yes.
Yeah.
How can I appreciate the good in a past relationship, not forget the bad, and still mentally let them go? How do
Wow.
you help people with the letting go piece? You know?
Yeah, I think the word that I use instead of breakup a lot of times, I know my book is called Breakup, but is expiration. And
Yes.
I like that something has expired, that it wasn't meant to go a day more, or it wasn't meant to end a day sooner either. Because when I think about an expiration, it tells me that relationship was meant to be in my life for that long.
Yep.
And then suddenly I get curious about, well, what was I supposed to learn from that? What did that mean? How was that supposed to change me and the other person? And all of these are like higher frequency um, thoughts, right? It's empowering. It's a growth mindset. And so I like this, that this is expired. I don't like this whole, like, I got to get over this person. That to me sounds, because it minimizes also what happened. And even if it wasn't good, listen, two people tried, and two people gave their hearts and shared stories and a bed, and it's if it didn't work out, like, there shouldn't be shame and residue from it.
Yes. Like getting over someone. Yeah, it's interesting how we've phrased the terminology has
Yeah,
become so popular.
yeah,
Um, I think about like I really did have a really great first marriage. And
yeah,
I look back on it fondly, and it's like I really loved him, and I still do. It's just that it changed form.
yes.
Like,
It
yes.
changed form. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. I love that wasn't this crazy breakup and, blah blah. It changed form. We were husband and wife, and now we are, I don't know, friend, platonic friends, or we're associates, or whatever we are. The fact that it changed form, to me, that sounds beautiful and respectful and
Yeah.
spiritual. Yeah, yeah,
But John, you have so much wisdom in your book, and I underlined so much in here, and it is a story about your evolution after your first after your divorce. And I think that's the lesson for all of us, is that breakups can lead to an evolution, can lead to a transformation and a growth, like a huge growth, so that you can have a new corrective experience. A relationship, your next relationship can be just so much like, well, healthy and beautiful and nurturing. All those things that it may not have been before your break, like in your past relationship.
Yeah, I talk a lot about our hearts not breaking, but they stretch. And the way that our hearts stretch, although painful, is through expired relationships. That's how we learn about love ourselves and kind of redefine things. It also positions us for, like you said, a new love experience, a corrective experience, which then continues our evolution. I think there's so much beauty in that, you know? Like,
Me too.
it, there's something about that I feel like is, oh, that it kind of feels like the circle of life. Like that makes sense to me, that that a breakup isn't this catastrophic, devastating end, but it's actually the beginning to your evolution. And so, oh, that was why that happened. And now I'm going to evolve and grow and bring more to the table when I love someone next.
Right. And you're gonna take those lessons that you learned into all your relationships, not
Yes.
just your intimate partnership,
Yeah. Yeah.
like with friends, right? Colleagues.
Someone says it took me a rock bottom moment to
Moment.
eventually break free. And yeah, I think many people stay in relationships also maybe too long. They need to hit a rock bottom before they leave. That happens a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
So somebody is asking, my ex wants to follow me on social media, but
Mhm.
I know it's just to keep tabs on me. Should I allow it? Well, if you know that it's
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You got to do what's good for you.
yeah,
And if it's, one of the things I started doing after my divorce is I started sending my parents to voicemail. And my dad's no longer with us, but he was old school Korean, and he would like text us 911 because the remotes in his battery could doesn't work, and so he didn't have boundaries, and so I just started sending him to voicemail. And at first I felt bad and I felt guilty as a son, but listen, he got over it. He didn't disown me as a son. And so like sometimes we got to do things that feel honest to us, and yeah, it's going to upset some people. But if you want to unfollow your ex or you want to block them, do what you feel that you need. It's your job to create a safe space for you.
right. I was just talking to a good friend of mine this morning, and she's going through a separation, and it's
Mm,
very painful.
yeah,
And she said to me, she's like, I just, it's difficult. I said, of course, it's so difficult, right? And she
yeah,
said, I just don't want to hurt him. And you can't, it's just, for instance, like right there, it's like, it's going to hurt.
yeah,
It's going to hurt
yeah.
both of you because
Right.
you were married for so long. It's like, this is not an easy process. And you can't control how that other person's going to act or how they're going to feel. As much as you want to protect them from that pain
Yeah.
because you love them, and this person wants to follow you on social media, if you're feeling like it's not right, then
Yes.
no,
That's filed under self care.
file under self-care.
Also, I gotta say, you might be doing that person a favor. Like that person may not have the strength to unfollow you, so you do it so that person can create that space for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do we experience different levels of grief with time after a long-term breakup? Different levels of grief. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think grief is linear. I think it's also forgiveness is not linear. I also feel like grief is like a spiral where you have to keep doing laps, you know?
Yes.
And you start healing more and more every lap you do. But I think there's many laps, and I think some days we wake up and there's, I recently lost my house, and some days I sob uncontrollably, and other days I see silver lining, and I think it's great. Like I'm in Costa Rica, and learning how to surf. So uh, there's no like this happens and this happens. I think grieving is can be messy and definitely uh, you can hit emotions constantly as you're doing laps.
Allow yourself to grieve, right?
Yeah, without
Because
judgment.
there's something around grief that we know is like, if even if you tamp it down, it's going to surface, because it's
Yeah,
like you have to grieve,
yeah,
and it's going to come out when you don't, when you could be when you least expected it.
right.
So, well, John Kim, I want to thank you for your time and for all the wisdom that you're always sharing with us, and for writing this amazing book. It's awesome. I loved it. And I I love listening to you when you're like, so I always do the audiobook, and then I buy the book too. Well, you gave me, thank you, gave me this
Mm,
copy.
yeah.
But I love having the paper copy and the audio to, dog ear and underline, but also listen and laugh because you're so funny. So it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Robin, for being a friend. Thank you for being one of the first to reach out to us when our house was when we lost our house. And
Sorry,
thank
buddy.
you.
Sorry that happened to you guys.
No, it's
Really.
okay.
So much love.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you do. The work that you do. I know it's hard a lot of times when we're doing lives and podcasting. Um, I think you forget your reach, and you are reminded when you do in Bloom, and you see all these real people in front of you who have been
Yeah.
listening and watching. So thank you so much for just all the work that you've been doing in this world.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Enjoy your time in Costa Rica. Enjoy
All right.
surfing.
Be well. Bye.
Be well. Bye.